Hello again. Good afternoon. Good. Yeah, it's still. I got a fancy new watch. So I figured I need something to tell me stand up and move. So, you spend $300 on a watch that says, "Hey, you haven't moved in the last 30 minutes." So I don't know. That's what my assistant's for. Anyway. So I was going to talk. I wanted to answer a question that you had about refinance cash outs, but I was also going to go over something that I think it's probably pretty basic, but I think it's powerful. I was talking to my coach. I've got a mortgage coach, and he was talking about the different things that he has taught through the years to realtors and other people. He said the most impactful thing that he has taught is a lead tracker, right? So really high-tech stuff, just a simple form. Actually, I would hand this out. So this is one of the things that when I started with the coaching, that's one of the forms that I was responsible for filling out every month. All right. Whether you like it or not, you can get one. Oh, you following me around?
Yeah, let me have one and I'll put it on camera.
All right, we can get a PDF of that. I'll give one to Joey. Can we give one to Joey? All right. Wake up, Joey. So there's two parts of the lead tracker. One is what it does, and the other one, there's two practical sides of it, and I think that they're both as equally as important. I think just the act of writing down the lead has as much impact as what you do with it. Right? So my experience with a lot of realtors, not all of them, but a lot of realtors is that they'll send me somebody, I'll call them back and say, talk about John Smith, and they're like, I don't remember him. Do you have his number? They don't really know they trust me with this, which I think is great, but if we find ourselves doing the follow-up to help. And what I realized is when I started in the business, I thought I was getting leads, but I didn't have any numbers. I didn't have any real tangible things to say. Well, how many should I have? And where's my leads coming from, and all those different things. So the first thing that we were taught was to just simply keep a lead tracker. Let's just write down the name of them, where they came from, the result of the call, what's their number, and how many times did you call? It's pretty simple. We can make it more complicated in that down at the bottom, you're going to see where it's got, goals for current client referrals, goals for previous, PCR would be a previous client referral, CCR would be a current client referral, PC for a previous client, personal friend, realtor, maybe from another realtor, any advertising that you might do, a business partner, a builder, and honestly, I can't remember what AR is. So,
15.
What? AR-15. That's right. Right. I held it. I shot a guy, and so I'm going to get him a house. I own a house. So, what we do is we have this is getting into more of the detail, but I have a goal for the number of current client referrals that I have in a month. I have a goal for the number of previous clients, and I can go back. Honestly, this is my 10th anniversary month of being in the mortgage business. I can go back and they started out on paper, handwritten. I have every one of them for every month that I've ever been in the business. So I can go back, it started out written by hand, then it became, I want to create a spreadsheet, and then it became a shareable spreadsheet for my team so they can look at it, and now it's built into my CRM. So all I have to do is look at a report every day, and I see exactly what's going on. And the CRM actually calculates what my conversion rate is too. So some of the math that's done here at the bottom is I've just built it in, but the fundamentals are the same. I just wanted to know where those people are coming from, and I'm convinced that if you don't track your leads, if you just the simple act of tracking them, writing them down, is going to increase your business. Now, to do a little bit of math, okay, so I don't want to get too fancy here, but the idea is, let's say it's almost like a planning function too. So how much do you want to make in a year? So let's say you want to make $200,000 a year in real estate. So let's say your average, what would be an average commission that would be made? Is that $5,000? Is that is that $5,500? Is that, I mean, that would be your net, right? Because 3% is going to be, you know, $6,000 on a $200,000 purchase price. But what? Let's use $5,500 because that's what I did my math on, because I have to redo it. So if you're making $5,500 a sale, then if you just simply divide 200,000 by $5,500, that tells you need 36 deals to close in a year. So the math is pretty easy. Well, you should be able to convert, for realtors, you should be able to convert about 20% of those leads. Now, it depends on the type of leads you're getting. Like, you're getting a bunch of Boomtown leads, you're getting a bunch of, you know, some of those things. But I think, you know, these are good referred leads. You're gonna be able to close 20% of those leads. So just the thought of thinking what your conversion rate should be is another thing that it just makes you think differently. So I just got a bunch of leads, and I got to, you know, I need to have a goal. I need to have a target for some of these things. So you make $200,000 a year, and if you make $5,500 a deal, then you need 36 closings a year. So that's three a month, right? Well, and we're just thinking about the deal. So if we're going to convert 20% of them, so we take 36 and divide that by 20%. So that means we need 180 leads throughout the whole year to be able to. If you convert 20% of 180 leads, you're going to have 36 closings. So if you say 180 divided by 12, I need 15 leads a month to make 100,000 or 200,000 a year. Okay, so you know, whatever your numbers would end up being, but a good rule of thumb, you know, my conversion rate, my target is 35%, not 20%. So I think I'm being conservative. So I know that I need 15 leads a month. Well, if that is a target, I already know that I want to make so much a month or so much a year, and I have a target. Well, you know, I don't even have to fill out one of these. I only have to fill out, you know, 15 leads that are good leads. I'm probably going to be able to convert that. So the act of thinking about it and saying, well, how much do I want to make? So if you want to make just, you know, if you're getting in the business, I mean, a first milestone was 100,000 a year. Well, that's 7 to 8 leads a month. So it doesn't look like much when you look at it that way. Now, again, if you're thinking about, well, we've got 40 leads a month that are coming that are, you know, the conversion rate's 3%, then that's a different kind of thing. But the type of leads that I want I want a referral-based business. Previous client, current clients, you know, friends, family, my sphere, those kind of things. So if we have a target of you know, again, what did I say, 15 leads a month. So all I have to do, I don't even have to do the bottom part. All I have to do is just half of this sheet, and if I fill it up with good solid leads, so the act of doing this tells me that I'm getting the numbers that I need. The other act of this is like, well, where did the source come from? It makes me think about who the sources are. And then, you know, what's the results? Well, you know, this was and I write down everything. If somebody even sneezes and said, I'm thinking about refinancing, they go on my list. Because if I don't write them down, I forget. So if anybody sends us a referral, it's like, well, I think John Smith is going to call you, and you don't give us anything else, we still put them on the list. So what we do is we'll call you up and say, John Smith never called. Is it all right if we call him? Maybe there's a phone number for him? So, but it's a reminder to us. So same thing for you. If you got John Smith on here and the referral came from a high school friend, well, if you don't hear from John Smith in a week, the next week you call that old friend and say, hey, John never called. Do you have a number for him? You know, or, you know, immediately ask for that number. And then you've got a number, a phone number, an email, and then the number of calls. You know, I saw a statistic the other day that said, you know, there's a high percentage of customers didn't buy until you contacted them over 7 times. Right? So we have this conversation in our office all the time. It's like, you know, Audrey's following up on these leads, and she's like, well, how many times should I follow up on them? So I'm looking at the statistics, and I said, I don't want to be a stalker. I don't want them to get mad at me, but there's a soft way to do the follow-up because people forget, they have good intentions, but it's like finally you're persistent. And I don't know what you guys see with your with your stuff, but you know, sometimes you get lucky and you talk to them once or twice, they look at a couple of houses and they're done, but more than the average is that you're going to be contacted more. And then again, just knowing where they come from, and having a goal. Like I want my business to be a referral-based business. Now, what I'm finding in my business is that I get, the longer I'm in the business, I'm still got a good referral base from realtors, but my previous clients, those numbers are high. previous client referrals are high, and what I'm really looking for is current client referrals. So whenever has anybody talked to you about the reticular activator before? You know what that is? You ladies know what the reticular activator is?
Red car, or
Yeah.
you drive a red car and you're more likely to see
Yeah.
a red car.
Yeah, so the very thing, so you're, like, if you're pregnant, then you notice all the people are pregnant. You know, if you just bought a new car, it's like you start to see that car, I never realized there were many of these red cars out there. So the same thing happens with somebody when they're shopping for a house. It's like, now their ears are perked up and they're hearing everybody that mentions that they're looking for a house. So those people they're primed to be good referral partners when, so they're in the process, they're shopping, they're a good prospect for referrals, but also when they're under contract. Because immediately once they close, they're thinking about other things. So when we do like an update call that we do on Tuesdays to borrowers, we're asking them, who do you know that's buying or selling real estate? Because we're thinking they're a heightened level of activity and thinking about that. Once they close, they're like, yeah, we're thinking about the boxes, we got painting to do, and they're not thinking about us anymore, which is appropriate. But those are some things. So we want to, because we track it, we say, well, we're not getting that many current client referrals. Oh, we're forgetting to ask. So maybe it's just because you ask. So now we know that our current client referrals are, so we're gonna have a contest internally that said for the normal non-sales staff, when they're in processing, if you get a current client referral, we'll give you a $20 bill, right? This immediate satisfaction of that. So when they're talking about it, because the processing team becomes more close to our borrowers than anybody. They're asking them stuff, they're talking to them multiple times a week, and so here's our chance to talk to them. So if you're not measuring it to begin with, then you're not even thinking that you should be asking the question. But now it's like, okay, I want to have a goal. I want to get one current client referral a month. Well, once you start getting that one, think about, well, why can't we get 4? Right? We got closing 20 deals. Why can't we at least get 5 out of a quarter of those people that like us enough to refer somebody? So the thinking about it makes us ask that question. So, get current client referral, previous client referral, and previous client. Those top 3 in my 10 years in the business. Most people live in a house 5 to 7 years. So I'm getting a lot of repeat business. I got the children of the people that I helped get a mortgage. And it's because we've kept up with them. Now I'm spoiled because Misty is doing 30, 60, 90-day calls. Once we close, she's calling the client at 30 days and 60 days and 90 days. She's also calling and talking to the past database at least twice a year. So she's doing a letter of the week call, which means, we're going to call the A's this week and then the B's next week. So, there may be one Z, right? But, that's a light week. But if you call them a letter of the week, it's pretty simple. Now you're calling everybody twice a year. And so with that, we're keeping in touch with them. And, I wasn't planning on last year being like the world's best refi market. But because we took care of all those clients all those years and kept up with them, and I send birthday cards to the very person that ever did a mortgage with. So we have a system set up to do that. Handwritten birthday card that goes out. There's different people that get different kind of gifts, but everybody gets a birthday card. People are getting happy home anniversary cards, and the idea is we just want to keep in front of them. But we have events, have a drive-in event, and have pumpkin pie event every year, and those kind of things. And inevitably, we'll go to the pumpkin pie. Well, last year I gave away 36 pumpkin pies, and I think I got 2 refinances out of it. And I didn't necessarily ask for it, but they just came in. I've been meaning to talk to you. It's good to see you. And so, there's previous clients, but because I had been tracking things, and then I also had them all in a database that I was doing something with, it was like a perfect storm last year, and still is. Because rates are so low. I've got in my database, I've got everybody I've ever done a mortgage for. I've got their interest rate, the terms, and so I talked to a lady the other day that I hadn't talked to in 4 or 5 years, and I said, you've got a 5 1/4 rate. It would be malpractice if I didn't call you, right? And she's like, well, I'm just thinking, I don't know. I said, no. you know, whether it's me or somebody else, you've got to, if you're going to be in the house, you need to refinance. It's just, and so, let me show you the numbers and we'll talk about it, but why would you not? I mean, saving her like $400 a month, you know, if she wants to do it within the 30 year, but we also turn her at the same payment and we get a 15-year loan that she's only paid on for 6 years. So stuff like that, because I keep all that data, I guess I kind of got off on there into the database, but you start to capture the data, then you need to put it somewhere, and now I want to mine that. I want to go back and mine that data and now it makes sense. So I just think that if you did nothing else but just keep this in your wallet or your purse, Dustin, keep this in your purse, then and just write it down.
And my coach.
Yeah. So I just have seen so many agents that, you know, another exercise that we've done before is to write down, like, how many leads did you get last year, and then how much did you make? You just divide how much you made by the number of leads, and you say, well, every lead is worth, you know, $800, right? If you did the math, let's say 10 leads a month and you made $100,000, so there's every lead's worth $1,000. Well, when you write the name of the lead on a Post-it note and stick it in your car, would you do that with a $1,000 bill, right? You know, you've got to, like, I'm going to keep, this is your bank book. So, you know, when you start thinking of it differently, this lead is really worth, you know, you don't know which one's worth that much money, but they're, cumulatively they are, and that's the way, you know, I do the math. I've got a number written on my board that says this is how much I make, you know, and the staff doesn't know what it is, but there's a dollar amount written up there, and I know that it's per lead, you know, this is how much it's worth. And so when the phone rings, you think differently. When you say, well, that's worth $275 for that. I don't know if this one will turn out, but the odds are that that's going to be worth $275 a phone call. So why would you write on a Post-it note that you might lose? You know, and I mean, I don't know how many times I'll call agents and give them an update, and they're like, I don't remember that guy. Like, okay, well, I keep playing them up. This is, you know, here's their contact information, and some of you probably you should get something we send out on Fridays, a Refinity report. Have you seen it? You should be. If you're not, maybe go in Spain. But it is if you send us a lead, we don't if we don't get many leads, it's not worth the trouble, but we keep track of everything. So on Fridays, our CRM will spit out a report, and it's emailed to you. And it'll say, here's the name of the lead, here's the phone number, here's the status, and I think that's pretty much it. So what we do is when me or anybody in the office is talking to a client, we're putting some notes in, and those notes are what you're going to see. So, you know, we've tried 5 times to reach them, we've tried 6 times to reach them, you know, or, you know, they're pre-qualified in shopping, or, you know, they had a death in the family, so then we put things off for 30 days, or, you know, stuff like that. We make all those notes in there. So it's called a Refinity report, but it would have any leads that you would have sent us, and we keep track of all those. So anyway, I think that's pretty powerful. So, and it has. I'm not going to say it changed my business, because when I got into the business, I subscribed to that right off the bat. You know, because they said, if you're going to be successful, this is what successful people do. And 10 years ago, I was broken, and I was trying to figure out how to make a living. So it was like, yeah, well, tell me what to do, I'll do it. So, changing gears, the refinance cash out. So a few things to think about refinance cash out. There's refinance cash out, and there's a refinance rate and term. So if you don't want to get any money out, or you, like say less than 1% of the loan amount back, then you would do a rate term refinance, and you're going to get the best terms for that, and you're going to get it's going to depend on the appraisal, like anything else. We're going to typically have to go back and have an appraisal done. There are times when you don't have to have an appraisal, but if you've got really good credit and you've got a lot of equity, then sometimes you can get a property inspection waiver like we can on some purchase business. The refinance cash out, it's, you know, you're going to be, you know, we're not as concerned about, you know, with a rate and term. We want to be at least a half a point. I like to be a whole point savings for it to make sense, because there's always a cost of the transaction. Now there are times There are some, like a VA, streamline refinances, which are really inexpensive and easy. Like if we were, I don't even know what what his rate is. Sandy, need to check on that.
I think it's 3.75.
Oh, yeah, we need to talk. So I
Yeah,
can
I've
like,
been talking to him about that
Yeah,
actually. I'm
so-
like, you need to check
yeah,
on
and the
this.
beauty of it is like in that, it's called an IRL, interest rate, reduction and refinance, loan. So it's, we don't have to check on, we don't have to check assets, we don't have to check income, and it is really, really straightforward. So, you know, to save a point, to go from 3.75 to 2.75 or whatever that number might be, probably makes a lot of sense. It all depends on whether you plan to live there a while, right? So if he was like, well, we're probably gonna sell it in the next year or two, it's probably not worth the transactional cost. But, and I would tell anybody that, you know, I put off doing my own, refinance because I was thinking, well, do we move, do we not move? And, I know enough about the market that, yes, I might get a little bit from my house right now, but ain't nothing out there, so I just refinance. Like, there's no place to move up to, I mean, there's no place to move to. So, but with a refinance cash out, we can, it's gonna be based on the appraised value of the house, and we're, depending on the program, there are some times we can do a full, I think we can go up to 100% cash out, on a VA, but most conventional things are gonna be at 20%, or 80% loan to value. So you need to have some equity. But generally, the rate is not as good as if it is for just a rate term refinance. So I've got an elderly lady right now that talked about doing a cash out, but she just needed a little bit of money, so we set it up so that she got back 1% of the loan amount, because it's still considered a rate term. And so she got money back, she was able to skip 2 payments. So she was able to put together about $3,000 or $4,000 kind of naturally, instead of actually getting a big check at closing. She got a little check, and then she got to skip a couple of things with, you know, limited income, and it was in the difference in rate for her, even though she had an 800 credit score, was to go from a cash out to a rate term was probably over a quarter of a point, maybe 3/8 of a point. So it you know, I didn't think it made the most sense to her, but that's one of those situations where she got her financial advisor and her son are all looking at the numbers, and I'm trying to keep everybody happy and communicate with them. So, is that the kind of
Yeah.
answer you want? Okay. So we do them both. We like them. So, anything else? Any other burning
I
questions?
did have a question
Yeah.
about that. So say somebody has a little bit of equity build up, and then they wanted to do, like, say if somebody wanted to buy an investment property off, like a refinance off their home,
Yeah.
they cash out.
Mhm.
How does that look? Do they need to do like a home equity loan, or would that be?
Well, it depends on what they want to do. When a lot of people come to me and say, I want to do a flip. Well, the type of money that we do, the rates are exceptional, but the fees are a little on the heavy side compared to if you've got equity in, like, if somebody owns a house free and clear, and I see this a lot of times. The son, you know, the 20-year-old, 25-year-old son wants to flip some houses. Mom and dad got a house that's paid for. So if you're gonna keep the money for a long time, you take any of the fees that are associated with us doing a cash out, and you spread it out over the length of, I'm sorry, I'm mixed things up there. So if you want to buy and then get in it and get out of it, it makes more sense to have a home equity line of credit. You treat it like a checkbook, right? You just write it and then you put the money back. So you're only paying interest on the things that you need. There's very low closing costs. I don't do them, but I would imagine that under $500 you can get, even if there is an appraisal required, you can get a home equity line of credit, and you just use it like a checkbook, or you might even get a credit card that you can use. And so what that allows you to do, you know, if you're going to buy a flip, well, you know, many times the flips are rough, and so they wouldn't pass an appraisal if we were going to do them anyway. And so why don't you use your home equity line money to buy it and rehab it? If you're going to keep it, we can do the permanent financing. That's great. But if you're gonna sell it, then the cost of the transaction is so low, because generally you're paying interest only on a home equity line. And that way you can get in it and get out of it. So it depends on how much equity you have and how comfortable you are with that. But I like the idea of doing a home equity line to do those kinds of things. You know, when you're doing if you're gonna buy and hold, then the type of financing that we do is great. But if you're gonna do, what's the acronym that's when you're doing you buy and rehab? It's BRRRR. Yeah. So buy, rehab, rent, refinance, something like that is the way that.
Tim was doing one of those a few months ago.
Tim was? Okay, so what happens is if your closing costs are $4,500 to do a transaction, but you're only holding the money for 4 months, yes, you got a great interest rate, but you're spreading that 4 months is costing you $1,000 a month or $1,200 a month in interest, effective interest. If you're gonna keep it for 10 years, then that makes a lot of sense. Low interest rate and the fees are moderate. But if you're gonna be, I ask people this all the time, if they're gonna be living in the house for 2 years, if I know the military's gonna move me home to sell it, well, interest rate is always important, but let's worry about the fees. So let's go with no points, or maybe even a little bit higher rates, so that we can keep your fees low, because you know that you're gonna be selling in a couple of years. It's difficult though for people to realize, well, how long am I really gonna stay in a place? Because it may be that I plan to stay there 2 years, but then it ends up being, say 5, and then. But I usually ask people, are you gonna move you in 2 years, or are they gonna take you in a box? If you know you're gonna be there forever, never gonna sell the place, then okay, let's look at the math and see if it makes sense to go with a lower rate and a higher fee situation. So.
Do you do bridge loans?
I don't, and I had somebody ask me that this morning. I did a breakfast, and so I know that I didn't think anybody did them until about 3 months ago. I had a personal friend of mine they were wanting to buy and then sell, and the frustrating thing is that I believe that they worked with Eastman. Because now you have to be well qualified, because you have to handle the payment for both, and you're going to have enough equity. So the way to do that would be get a home equity line on one place, and then we can do the permanent financing. There's different ways you can do that. But the frustrating thing is that the advice I gave him was, he wanted to sell his place anyway. So get 45 days on the contract to sell your place, to buy, and then be prepared to put your house right on the market. And so I sent him originally to Eastman because they had a product that would work for him. And then when he got under contract, he got the house, and then within 2 days, his house was on the market. So he didn't need the bridge. And so I lost the deal because, and it's good for him, right? So it took that, in the offer stage. That's where it was, because you don't want to, right now this morning, you don't have any contingencies.
Yeah, the home sale contingencies. Gone.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of people that. It's more and more common that people are like, hey, I want to move, but I need to figure out how I can buy and then sell.
And sometimes it's easy. I've got people that they got a little bit of money in the bank, and we can put as little as on a convention. You got 800 credit, and you've got $50,000 in the bank. You put 5% down on a new place, buy that new place, and then because you can handle the debt to income ratio, and then sell the other place when you want to, take the proceeds and pay down the balance. Right? So that serves that purpose, but there's most people don't have enough equity and don't have enough. The ratios don't work. And then you've got some people that can do anything, and then you got the goes in the middle that it's really marginal. So I think that it would be good if I had something like that, but the coordination of all that. And, we're looking for right now we're looking for any ways to win a deal.
So if somebody does do home equity line of credit or whatever, use that for down payment on the new house, and they haven't sold, how does that affect the new loan? Are they going to pay a higher interest rate, or do you take into consideration the fact that they're getting ready to sell their first home? Or
well, we treat it so what would happen is that you've got your I mean, if you don't owe anything on the house, then that's easy, you do a home
Yeah.
equity line of credit. But, you know, you have to have enough equity to be able to take money out. So let's say you got $50,000 of equity, but you take 30 out in the form of a home equity line of credit. So I look at the mortgage that they have, and then I add the maxed out home equity line, you know, the minimum payment on that, and then they just have to qualify. So we can use that money now to put on the new place. Once they sell the old place, they can choose to just keep the money from that and use it to do upgrades on the new place. Or they could take that money and they can put it down on the new place, and then we have a couple of options there. They can either, generally what happens is that they will, it'll shorten the term. They'll keep the payment the same, but it'll shorten the term.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like that, you know, and they would have done a 20-year anyway, so let's run them at a 30, and then when you pay that much down, it just shortens the term.
Gotcha.
But there's also an opportunity to recast the loan. If we're still servicing it, which we do most of them, then we can recast it so that, I wanna keep the 30-year term, I just want a lower payment. So sometimes that works. So,
Okay.
Anything else? Better quit talking.
What stocks should we be buying right now?
Oh my goodness.
I'm just kidding.
I heard GameStop's pretty hot.
Have you bought Dogecoin yet, or however you say
Yeah.
it?
I think I was telling Dexter, somebody that Paul bought, about 10 months ago, he bought one share of Cracker Barrel, and it was at $60. And, you know, at the time, you know, it had usually stayed around 160. So
Yeah.
he made $100 on one stock. You know.
Nice.
And so at that point, you think you're a genius. It's like, well, if I just had more money,
Yeah,
I would have made more money. Could have lost more money too.
Yeah.
that's true.
I've got nothing
Right.
else.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.